blízkého a drahého žáka Šrily Prabhupády, který s ním prožíval víc než mnoho jiných žáků, který mu pomáhal zakládat první chrám v San Francisku a potom první chrám v Londýně, vlastně, kde se instaloval první postaráda Krišny v Evropě. A který potom i zakládal vlastně chrám ve Vrindávanu, Krišna Balaram Mandir, a který má s Prabhupádou tolik jako neuvěřitelných zážitků, že jsme velice rádi, že nás navštívil ze San Franciska, už je mu přes 70 let. Je to Gurudas Prabhu, jeden z prvních žáků, který bude vypravovat hlavně o Šrilu Prabhupádu.
Milosťou Krišnu a Gornataj,
they have sent the best representative, Srila Prabhupada, to us.
Poslali najlepšieho predstaviteľa Šrila Prabhupádu.
He is most favored and helped by their lordships.
Takže je najobľúbenejší a najúctihodnejší.
A nejvíc mu pomáhali taky.
Help. A najviac mu pomáhali ich milosť Gornataj.
And we are helping Srila Prabhupada to fulfill his dream and mission.
A my pomáhame Šrilovi Prabhupádovi, aby sme mu pomohli naplniť jeho sen a jeho misiu, jeho poslanie.
It is true that actually Hare Krishna is being known in every town and village of the world.
V skutočnosti je to pravda, že Hare Krišna je už známe v každom meste a dedine na celom svete.
Very soon we will take over Coca-Cola.
Čoskoro prevezmeme Coca-Colu.
You're starting some new center in Slovakia.
Takže na Slovensku začínate nové centrum.
And so I will relate the story of how we also started with a small group of people to begin a temple.
A ja tento príbeh spojím s tým, ako aj my sme začali s malou skupinou ľudí, sme vytvorili chrám.
We all started small.
Všetci sme začali ako v maličkej skupine.
A few devotees here and there.
Pár oddaných sem a tam.
More came.
Potom prichádzalo viac a viac.
Prabhupada left his beloved Vrindavan.
Prabhupada odišiel zo svojho milovaného Vrindavanu.
He sat on the Jaladuta ship.
A nalodil sa na Jaladutu.
Now everything is going along smoothly.
Teraz už všetko ide samé hladko.
However, I miss Govinda Gopala.
Avšak mne chýba Govinda a Gopala.
And Vrindavan.
A Vrindavan.
And if any of you have been to Vrindavan, you can know how wonderful and magical a place it is.
Keď niekto z vás vo Vrindavane bol, tak môžete vedieť, aké je to úžasné a magické miesto.
So because he wanted to please his spiritual master,
Pretože on chcel potešiť svojho duchovného učiteľa.
He left beloved Vrindavan.
Opustil milovaný Vrindavan.
And an advanced age, 70.
A v pokročilom veku, vo veku 70 rokov,
most people would just want to retire.
Väčšina ľudí by už chcela ísť na dôchodok.
But the definition of retire means getting tired again.
Ale definícia slova retire, ako ísť na dôchodok, je, že znova sa unaviť, lebo tire je unavený a je ako znova byť unavený.
I can tell who understands English because you laugh before the other people.
Ja už viem, kto z vás rozumie anglicky, pretože ste sa začali smiať pred tým zvyškom ostatných ľudí.
Prabhupada has a wonderful, wonderful sense of humor.
Prabhupada má úžasný zmysel pre humor.
People may think of him as very strict and fierce.
Ľudia môžu nad ním rozmýšľať ako nad niekým veľmi striktným a vzbudzujúcim strach.
For he's instructing us how to get out of the material world and embrace the spiritual world.
Pretože on nám dáva pokyny, ako sa dostať z hmotného sveta a objať duchovný svet.
And his books are full of instructions.
A jeho knihy sú plné pokynov.
But I can tell you personally that Prabhupada is very playful, charming, sweet, and funny.
Ale ja vám osobne môžem povedať, že Prabhupada je veľmi hravý, šarmantný, zábavný a sladký.
When you got to know him, he was very relaxed. He would sit like this.
A keď ho niekto spoznal, tak zistil, že je veľmi uvoľnený. Takto sedel.
So he came at great risk, only knowing one person.
On prišiel, keď prišiel do Ameriky, ako prišiel s veľkým rizikom, poznal iba jednu osobu.
Actually, he didn't even know them.
Dokonca ich ani osobne nepoznal.
But he stayed with the Agarwals.
On býval u Argavalových.
And they said it was the best time of their life.
A oni povedali, že to bola najlepšia doba ich života.
And there's a picture of Prabhupada with their little boy, smiling.
Existuje obraz, fotka Prabhupada, kde je s ich malým synom, ako sa usmieva.
So Prabhupada went to the worst part of New York.
Prabhupada išiel do tej najhoršej časti New Yorku,
the poorest section.
do tej najchudobnejšej oblasti.
Drunk people were sleeping on the street.
Na ulici spali opilci.
He had these Bengali gold shoes that went up like this in the front.
On mal tieto bengalské zlaté topánky, ktorých špička sa tak zakrúti.
Just his presence commanded so much respect from people.
A už len jeho prítomnosť v ľuďoch vzbudila toľko úcty.
That the drunks would try to get up when the Swami came like that. They would try to respect him.
Toľko úcty, že aj tí opilci sa snažili vstať, keď prichádzal s vámi, chceli mu nejak vzdať úctu.
Somebody asked him, doesn't this bother you, all these people sleeping on the street?
A niekto sa ho spýtal, nelezie vám to na nervy, že všetci títo ľudia tu ležia v uliciach?
All these noisy car horns?
A všetky tieto hlučné, všetko toto hlučné trúbenie aut?
People walking here and there?
A ľudia chodia sem a tam?
Prabhupada said, no, I'm a Calcutta boy.
A Prabhupada povedal, nie, ja som chlapec z Kalkaty.
So it didn't bother him.
Takže vôbec mu to nevadilo.
So soon there was success in New York.
Čoskoro v New Yorku prišiel úspech.
But things were really happening in San Francisco.
Ale veci sa skutočne roztočili v San Francisku.
What was going on in San Francisco was influencing the whole world.
To, čo sa dialo v San Francisku, ovplyvňovalo úplne celý svet.
Young people were tired of the material ways.
Mladí ľudia už boli unavení z hmotného spôsobu života.
Young people were tired of just picking a career to make money.
Mladí ľudia už boli unavení z toho, že majú si vybudovať kariéru len preto, aby zarobili peniaze.
They wanted to find more value in their life.
Oni v svojich životoch chceli nájsť viacej hodnôt.
We were searching for the truth.
Hľadali sme pravdu.
And not afraid to search.
A nemali sme strach hľadať.
We're taking knowledge from all parts of the East, Japan, India.
Prijímali sme poznanie zo všetkých častí východu, či už z Japonska alebo z Indie.
Native American wisdom.
Taktiež múdrosť, indiánsku múdrosť.
Not only were we experimenting with these things,
a nielen, že sme s týmito vecami experimentovali,
but we were wearing the costumes of our search.
Ale sme nosili aj, sme sa obliekali podľa toho nášho hľadania ako kostýmy zodpovedajúce tomu hľadaniu.
So in our first temple, Indians came, Mexicans came, Africans came, dogs came.
Do nášho prvého chrámu prišli Indovia, Afričania, Mexičania, dokonca aj psi.
Mukunda was wearing like Merlin the magician robe.
A Mukunda mal na sebe odev kúzelníka Marlina.
Samashinda was wearing an Afghani shepherd's robe.
A niekto mal, Shyamasundar mal oblečený odev afgánskeho pastiera oviec.
That smelled like sheep.
A ono to aj smrdelo po tých ovciach.
And I was wearing a samurai robe that Jamuna made for me.
A ja som mal na sebe odev samuraja, ktorý pre mňa ušila Yamuna.
And this is what Prabhupada walked into.
A do tohto vkráčal Prabhupada.
Lots of young hippies, dogs, everything, wanting to find the truth.
Veľa mladých hippisákov a psov, ktorí chceli nájsť pravdu.
So we found a small storefront temple.
A my sme teda našli malý obchodík, ktorý slúžil ako chrám.
There was no books, no mridangas, no kartals, no back to Godhead, no prayers.
A v tej dobe neboli žiadne knihy, žiadne mridangy, žiadne kartála, žiadne späť k Bohu, back to Godhead magazíny, žiadne modlitby, ale my sme mali Prabhupada.
But we had the Swami.
Ale my sme mali Swamiho.
And he sat amongst us and taught us everything.
On sedel medzi nami a všetko nás učil.
How to chant.
Ako spievať.
How to cook.
Ako variť.
How to do business.
Ako zarábať peniaze.
How to attract people to Krishna.
Ako pritiahnuť ľudí ku Krišnovi.
How to do fire yajna.
Ako robiť ohňové obete.
Everything. How to wash.
Ako prať všetko.
So, at first, there was an altar, but no vyasasana.
Najskôr tam bol oltár, ale nemali sme vyasasana.
We painted our cars back in the 60s.
A naše autá sme si v 60 rokoch vymalovali sami.
So we had a Cadillac, the most expensive kind of car, with Hare Krišna on the side.
Takže my sme mali Cadillac, čo je najdrahšie auto, a po stranách tam bolo napísané Hare Krišna.
I called it the Krishna-lac.
A ja som to nazval Krišna-lac.
And we all went out to the airport to greet the Swami.
A všetci sme spolu išli na letisko, aby sme privítali Swamiho.
About 25-30 of us, and the dogs too.
20-30 nás a samozrejme aj tí psi.
Yeah, the dogs kick. I had a dog that was given to me from Mexico, and Shamashinda had a little dog, Ralph, and they all went in the car with the Swami every place.
Ja som mal psa z Mexika a Shyamasundar tiež mal nejakého malého psíka a všetci s nami išli do auta.
And the reason I'm saying this is because we have to understand that the Prabhupada was so flexible and so seeing into the hearts of us that we wanted to be with him.
A dôvod, prečo toto hovorím, je, že aby som ukázal, že Prabhupád bol taký flexibilný a videl do našich srdc, že nás to priťahovalo a chceli sme s ním byť.
Most everybody was impersonal in some way.
Nejakým spôsobom väčšina z nás boli impersonalisti.
I am God, they thought.
Mysleli si, som Boh.
I'll just do a small diversion. I was in Amritsar.
Bol som v Vincere.
And I had to sleep amongst the impersonalists.
A musel som spať medzi impersonalistami.
So this one man said, I am God, you are God, we are all God.
A jeden z tých mužov povedal, ja som Boh, ty si Boh, všetci sme Boh.
And I said, no, we have a relationship with God. It's two. It's it's love.
A ja som povedal, nie, my máme vzťah s Bohom, je to o dvoch osobách. A čintia beda tatva, ide tam o lásku.
He said, no, I am God, you are God.
A on povedal, nie, ja som Boh, ty si Boh.
By that time I had learned what Prabhupada had taught some things.
A už v tú dobu som vedel nejaké veci, ktoré nás naučil Prabhupada.
I said, no, you cannot even control your stomachache.
A ja som povedal, nie, ty dokonca nemôžeš ovládať ani svoju bolesť brucha.
What kind of God are you?
Čo si to za Boha?
So he says, no, we are God.
On povedal, nie, sme Boh.
He tells me the spark and the fire are the same.
To znamená, že sme iskra a zároveň aj oheň.
I said, you can't cook a meal with a spark.
A ja som povedal, s iskrou neuvaríš obed.
I said, qualitatively we are like God, but quantitatively or we are not.
Ja som povedal, kvalitatívne sme ako Boh, ale kvantitatívne sa nemôžeme porovnávať.
He said, no, you don't understand. Here's my blanket and here's the thread. They're the same.
A on povedal, nie, ty tomu nerozumieš. Tu je moja prikryvka a tu je nitka. Oni sú rovnaké.
So I took his blanket and gave him his thread and it was very cold.
Tak ja som mu vzal tú prikryvku a dal som mu iba nitku a vtedy bola veľká zima.
15 minutes later he said, please give me my blanket.
O 15 minút povedal, prosím, vráť mi moju prikryvku.
I said, you have the thread.
A ja hovorím, veď máš tú nitku.
So I said, you have to bow down before my Guru Maharaj if you want your blanket.
Tak som mu povedal, ak chceš svoju prikryvku, tak sa musíš pokloniť pred mojim Guru Maharajom.
Which he did.
A on to aj spravil.
So Prabhupada actually sat on the first altar because he was so humble he didn't tell us about Vyasa-san.
A v skutočnosti Prabhupada, he sat on the altar?
Yes. Yeah, she'd be like Punya Palika. I'll say something and she'll go, what? You're supposed to interpret. What?
Takže Prabhupada, on sedel na tom oltári, pretože v tej dobe ešte nebol Vyasa-san.
So, we had no deity.
A nemali sme božstvo.
We had a totem pole.
A mali sme tam totemy.
Haridas was the artist.
A Haridas bol umelec.
He lived up in the mountains.
On žil v horách.
But we told him this mantra rock dance is happening, so come off the mountain and make a poster. And he made the poster of Prabhupada like that.
A my sme mu povedali, poď von z tých hôr, bude mantra rock koncert a sprav pre nás plagát. A on ho aj spravil tam, kde má Prabhupada takto ruku.
And for some reason he decided to carve a totem pole and put it to the right of the altar.
A z nejakého dôvodu on sa rozhodol, že vyrežie totem a dali ho priamo na oltár.
Somebody brought a picture of Lord Jesus and put it in the temple.
A niekto priniesol obrázok Pána Ježiša a dali ho do chramu.
Prabhupada didn't say anything, he just accepted it.
A Prabhupada nič nenamietal, on to len prijmul.
But Haridas, we were all learning. There was no movement, there was no books.
Ale Haridas, my sme sa všetci učili a vtedy ešte neboli žiadne knihy, žiadne hnutie ešte neexistovalo.
So he painted a painting that was the back of the altar, a big painting of the Panchatattva.
A Haridas, on teda namaloval pozadie na oltár a bola to veľká malba Panchatattwy.
But because we were so neophyte and not knowing anything,
pretože sme boli takí začiatočníci a nič sme ešte nevedeli,
he thought the Panchatattva were women.
On si myslel, že Panchatattva sú ženy.
From Hawaii.
Z Havaja.
So he painted them with no covering, bare-breasted.
On ich namaloval bez vrchnej časti odevu, také prsnaté.
And I remember Prabhupada coming up to sit on the altar and sing.
Ja si pamätám, ako Prabhupada si prišiel sadnúť na ten oltár a pozeral sa na nich.
Prabhupada said,
Povedal Prabhupada.
So he calls Haridas over.
Tak zavolal Haridasa.
And he talks to him in his ear, and then Haridas takes the painting off.
A niečo mu pošepkal a čoskoro Haridas už bral ten obraz.
So the next day they were the Panchatattva.
A na druhý deň už z nich bola Panchatattva.
So this shows you Prabhupada's flexibility.
A toto nám znázorňuje Prabhupádovú flexibilitu, ohybnosť.
Finally we got the first deity was Kartamashi.
Prvé božstvo bolo Kartamashi.
It means like little master.
To znamená malý pán.
There was a store that had blue Krishna in the window, and I used to go to the store every day and say, please give me this Krishna.
A bol tam niekde obchod, kde mali vo výklade modrého Krišnu. Ja som tam chodil každý deň a prosil, prosím, dajte mi toho Krišnu.
They said no.
A oni povedali nie.
Finally one day they said, okay, you can have this Krishna for $35.
A nakoniec jedného dňa povedali, v poriadku, môžete toho Krišnu mať za $35.
I didn't have $35.
Ja som ale nemal $35.
We were all hippies.
Boli sme hippisáci všetci.
Hippies can be monks very easily. They both don't have any money.
Z hippisákov môžu byť mnísi veľmi ľahko, pretože ani jedni z nich nemajú peniaze.
One time a devotee showed up in London, the customs, and I get a call. There's somebody here that gave me your number and they don't have any money.
A jedného dňa sa v Londýne zjavil jeden oddaný a na colnici, a z colnice som zrazu mal telefonát a niekto mi dal vaše číslo a tvrdia, že nemá so sebou žiadne peniaze.
I said they don't have any money, not even one penny.
A ja som sa spýtal, nemá žiadne peniaze, dokonca ani jednu penny?
And the man from customs says no.
A ten colník hovorí nie.
So I said, then let him in because he's a monk. If he had one penny, throw him out.
A ja som povedal, tak ho pustite, pretože on je mních, keby mal so sebou jednu penny, tak ho vyhoďte.
So I went out on the street and I said, my father's in jail, please give me some money.
Tak som išiel na ulicu a začal som vykrikovať, môj otec je vo väzení, prosím, dajte mi nejaké peniaze.
I said, my son, Krishna's in jail, give me some money.
A môj syn Krišna je vo väzení, prosím, dajte mi nejaké peniaze.
My friend, Krishna's in jail, give me some money.
Môj priateľ Krišna je vo väzení, prosím, dajte mi nejaké peniaze.
So soon I had $35, gave it to the people in the shop, and they gave me Kartamashi.
A čoskoro som mal $35, zaplatil som ich tým ľuďom v obchode a čoskoro som už mal Kartamashiho.
Kartamashi was skinny and almost pale blue, light blue.
Kartamashi bol vychudnutý a bol veľmi bledomodrý, úplne vyblednutý.
We took him and fed him immediately.
My sme ho vzali a hneď sme ho nakrmili.
And took him for a walk in the park.
A vzali sme ho na prechádzku do parku.
And soon he became chubby and more vibrant blue, and I took photos of both, before and after.
A čoskoro začal byť taký baculatejší a modrejší a ja som si to odfotil aj predtým, aj potom.
So Prabhupada said, just see.
Prabhupada povedal, no len sa pozrite.
So the next deity, and that's a famous story, is how Malati stole Lord Jagannath from the store.
A ďalšie božstvo, to je známy príbeh, ako Malati ukradla z obchodu pána Jagannatha.
Malati got everything for us in the early days.
Malati v tých skorých dňoch mala všetko. Dokázala zohnať všetko.
Prabhupada lived above the temple.
A Prabhupada býval nad chrámom.
So one day, Malati sees this dairy truck with milk and butter and stop across from the temple.
Jedného dňa videla Malati, ako pred chrámom zastala dodávka s mliečnými produktami.
And the driver of the truck took milk and butter.
A ten šofer vzal to mlieko a maslo.
Goes into the store.
Ide do obchodu.
Malati runs to the back of the truck.
Malati rýchlo utekala zozadu do tej dodávky.
She looks in.
Poobzera sa tam.
She took a whole thing of butter, this big.
Zobere obrovský kus masla.
And runs across the street into the temple.
A uteká cez ulicu až do chrámu.
And puts the wood flat up and puts the butter in the refrigerator.
Čiže ono to bolo na palete, ona ju dala dole a dala to do chladničky.
So she was so happy.
A bola veľmi šťastná.
A little later, someone comes and says, the Swami wants to see you, Malati.
O chvíľu niekto prišiel a hovorí, Malati, a Swami ťa chce vidieť.
So we didn't have that much association with the Swami in the early days. He was translating books.
A na začiatku sme nemali toľko spoločnosti so Swamim, pretože on prekladal knihy.
So she was happy I can get to see the Swami.
Ona bola šťastná, a budem mať možnosť vidieť Swamiho.
So she goes up to the apartment where Swamiji is.
Tak išla hore do bytu, kde bol Swamiji.
Now we started to bow down.
A v tejto dobe už sme sa začali kláňať.
Because he just, by his presence, you wanted to respect him. He didn't demand it. He earned this respect.
Pretože už len jeho prítomnosťou sme sa mu chceli pokloniť, chceli sme vzdať úctu. On to nevyžadoval, ale my sme to chceli pre ňo spraviť. On si to zaslúžil, tú úctu.
He slept less than this and walked faster.
On spal menej ako my a chodil rýchlejšie ako my.
He was so kind. He always forgave us for our mistakes.
Bol tak láskavý, že nám vždycky odpustil naše chyby.
So Malati is there with the Swami.
A tam je Malati so Swami.
So you have stolen the butter?
Tak ty si ukradla to maslo.
So she became embarrassed.
A začala sa cítiť trápne.
I think she melted like butter.
A myslím si, že sa jej roztopila ako maslo.
Swamiji says you should not steal anything from anybody. Other people's belongings are like stool. They're for Krishna's, not yours.
A hovorí, ty by si nemala kradnúť žiadne veci od nikoho, pretože veci iných ľudí to je ako vykali. Oni sú, není tvoje, oni sú Krišnové.
But he didn't do it in a heavy, vindictive way. He just taught.
Ale on to nespravil s takým tvrdým prístupom. On ju to proste učil.
And then he said, and of course if you have to steal,
samozrejme, ak musíš niečo ukradnúť,
then steal butter.
tak potom ukradni maslo.
Because of Makanchura. So you see how he forgave us.
Kvôli Makančurovi.
So then, so she steals Lord Jagannath, and Prabhupada said, are there any others? And Samashunda was carving Lord Jagannath.
Tak ona ukradla pána Jagannatha a Prabhupada sa spýtal, a sú k ním ešte ďalší? A potom Shyama Sundar začal vyrezávať Jagannatha.
So now New York wanted the Swami back.
A v tejto dobe už New York chcel, aby sa tam s vami vrátil.
So Samashunda, Mukunda and I said, New York wants the Swami back, take a really long time carving Lord Jagannath. Long time.
Keď s Mukundom sme povedali Shyamasundarovi, New York chce, aby sa vrátil s vami, tak prosím veľmi dlho vyrezanie toho Jagannatha.
Very good. So, Samashinda every once in a while got a call. Bhaktivedanta Swami here, how is the carving going?
Takže každú chvíľu Shyamasundarovi zazvonil telefón, tu je Bhaktivedanta Swami, ako pokračuje tým vyrezávaním.
And Samashinda was like somebody from India. Oh, it is just coming, just coming.
Shyamasundar bol ako niekto z Indie a už to bude, o chvíľočku, už to bude.
So then the Swami went there one day, knocked on the door.
Potom tam s vami jedného dňa išiel, zaklopal na dvere.
And Samashinda's dog was there.
Bol tam Shyamasundarov pes.
And he was still smoking cigarettes. We used to go out after the kirtan, like it was a theater performance, and say, that was a good kirtan, even a really ecstatic kirtan.
A Shyamasundar práve fajčil, keď tam prišiel. A my sme ako chodívali s kirtanom, ako keby to bolo nejaké divadelné predstavenie, že sme si vždycky ako potom zapalili a hovorili, to bol dobrý kirtan, to bol dobrý kirtan.
So see, he had to teach us these things.
On nás všetky tieto veci musel naučiť.
So, finally he saw the pack of cigarettes from Samashinda.
Takže nakoniec aj zbadal Shyamasundarov balíček cigariet.
And he takes his cane and goes whap with his cane on the cigarettes.
Vzal svoju palicu a ich tak ako odvrhol, tie cigarety.
So we all gave up that. It wasn't hard because we were learning rules and regulations, the foundation of Krishna consciousness.
Takže všetkých týchto vecí sme sa vzdali a nebolo to ťažké, pretože sme sa učili pravidlá a regulácie a základy Krišna vedomia.
And so now we had on the altar Katamashi and the real Panchatattva and Lord Jagannath Subhadra Balaram, the first deity in the West.
Takže teraz sme mali na oltári Kartamašiho, skutočnú Panchatattvu, Jagannatha, Baladeva, Subhadru, čo boli prvé božstva na západe.
And they were lovely, lovely days with the Swami.
A boli to úžasné dni, také milé dni so Swami.
He drew the first Jagannath card, what it should look like.
A on nakreslil, ako by mal vyzerať prvý Jagannathov voz.
So in 1967 we had the first Jagannath festival to the ocean.
A v 1967 sme mali prvý festival pre Jagannatha a išlo sa až k oceánu.
We were so happy with the Swami amongst us.
Boli sme tak šťastní, keď bol medzi nami s vami.
There was only about 7 devotees.
Bolo tam asi len 7 oddaných.
Harsharani was the rule keeper.
A Harsharani, ona bola dozorca na pravidlá.
I told you before, but I have to, and you've heard it so many times, but I have to tell the story. Harsharani and Govindadasi were cooking in the kitchen.
Harsharani a Govindadasi varili v kuchyni.
This is to show you the playful side of Prabhupada.
Ja toto hovorím, aby som vám ukázal tú hravú stránku Prabhupádu.
So he comes in the kitchen and they're cooking pakoras.
Že príde do kuchyne a oni varia pakory.
So Prabhupada goes in and he takes the pakora and pops it in his mouth without touching it.
Prabhupada príde, vezme pakoru a hodí si ju do úst bez toho, aby sa dotkol s prstami.
We tried to eat like the Swami, but we weren't as successful.
My sme tiež skúšali jesť ako s vami, ale neboli sme úspešní.
Harsharani said, you know you can't eat in the kitchen while you're cooking for Krishna.
A Harsharani mu hovorí, A vieš, že nemáš jesť v kuchyni, keď veríš pre Krišnu?
Jamuna also thought this was crazy. How can the Swami get us to cook for Krishna without tasting?
A Jamuna si tiež myslela, že je to ako úplne šialené, ako môže po nás s vami chcieť, aby sme varili pre Krišnu bez toho, aby sme to ochutnali.
But we learned how to do it.
Ale my sme sa naučili, ako sa to má robiť.
So, Kashrani said, you can't do that, eat in the kitchen while we're cooking for Krishna.
A Harsharani mu hovorí, ty to nemôžeš robiť v kuchyni, keď my varíme pre Krišnu.
So the Swami goes,
A Swami to spravil znova.
she says, you can't. He says, who gave you this rule?
A ona hovorí, a nemôžeš? A on hovorí, a kto ti dal takéto pravidlo?
She said, you did.
A on povedal, vy ste mi ho dali.
He said, then I can break it.
Tak potom ja ho môžem aj porušiť.
So we had Jagannath Festival, and also we put on the mantra rock dance with the best Grateful Dead, Moby Grape, Quicksilver, the best bands donated their service to help us get our temple started.
Tak my sme mali ten Jagannathov sprievod a taktiež ten mantra rock dance s najlepšími skupinami, ako boli Grateful Dead a Moby. Moby Grape.
And Allen Ginsberg was there also.
A bol tam aj Allen Ginsberg a oni všetci dali ako tento servis preto, aby nám pomohli túto službu.
Timothy Leary, Swami Kriyananda.
A bol tam Timothy Leary a Swami Kriyananda.
Somebody who thought he was the mayor of San Francisco, but he wasn't.
Aj niekto, kto si myslel, že...
That's what we did. We wore costumes. He had a sash, San Francisco, and a top hat, but he wasn't the mayor.
Aj niekto, kto si myslel, že je prednosta San Francisca, ale nebol. A mal oblečený ako ten kostým, ale ako to nebolo skutočné.
But he thought he was the mayor.
Ale on si myslel, že je prednosta, starosta.
So Prabhupada comes amongst the crowd, and everybody parted, and Prabhupada spoke and sang so nicely.
A Prabhupada prišiel a ten dáv sa rozdelil vo dve, aby mohol prejsť a on spieval a hovoril tak pekne.
There were really happy days. Prabhupada would come 3 times, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, into the temple, 7 o'clock in the morning, 7 at night.
Takže boli to také šťastné dni, Prabhupada chodil pravidelne pondelok, stredu a piatok do chrámu o 7 ráno aj o 7 večer. And
then the rest of the days he would translate, and sometimes he would see some people.
A zvyšok dňa prekladal alebo sa stretol s nejakými ľuďmi.
But I wanted to see the Swami, but we didn't get to see the Swami.
Ja som chcel toho Swamiho vidieť, ale nepodarilo sa nám to.
Mukunda, Hare, Ray Rama were the only ones that got to see the Swami.
Mukunda, Hare, Griva a Raya Rama boli tí jediní, ktorí mali možnosť so Swamim byť alebo ho ísť pozrieť.
One day the Swami calls me.
A jedného dňa ma Swami zavolal.
He wanted to know about cameras for a friend in India.
A chcel sa naučiť niečo o fotoaparátoch, boli priateľovi v Indii.
He said, do you know this Pentax? And I said, yes.
A spýtal sa, poznáš tento Pentax? A ja som povedal, áno.
Then I showed him my camera.
Ja som mu ukázala môj foťák.
And it had a built-in light meter and needle.
A malo to zabudovanú ihlu s meračom svetelnosti.
So I showed it to the Swami.
Ja som ju ukázal Swamimu.
And like a little baby, he played with the camera for about 20 minutes. I was just sitting.
A ako malé babetko sa hralo s tou kamerou asi 20 minút, ja som tam len sedel.
He played with children that way, like who's gonna stop first? They were like golden retriever dogs. They were playing and playing and playing and playing.
On sa tak hral aj s deťmi, ako, že kto prvý prestane, ako boli ako zlatí retrieveri, že sa len hrali a hrali a hrali.
So then I found any excuse to go and see the Swami.
A potom som si našiel akúkoľvek výhovorku, aby som tam mohol ísť a stretnúť sa so Swamim.
So much so that his cooks and assistants said, don't let Gurudas in.
Až natoľko, že jeho asistenti a kuchári hovorili, nedovolte Gurudasovi, aby tam išiel.
But they would go in the kitchen, and that's when I decided to go see the Swami.
Ale oni išli do kuchyne a v tej dobe ja som sa práve rozhodol, že idem pozrieť Swamiho.
They would come back, oh, Gurudas is there.
Oni sa vrátili, Gurudas je tam.
But he never said go.
Ale on mi nikdy nepovedal, choď preč.
He always gave me this huge smile. Oh, it's so good to see you.
On vždycky sa na mňa zo široka usmial a tak rád ťa vidím.
So speaking of Harsharani, it's like she said, Jamuna comes to me one day and says, Harsharani says that if we live together, we must get married.
Jamuna za mňa prišla jedného dňa a hovorí, Harsharani hovorí, že keď spolu žijeme, tak sa musíme aj zosobačiť.
It was the most unromantic proposal in the history of the world.
A najmenej romantický návrh v celých dejinách ľudstva.
Harsharani says we must get married.
Harsharani hovorí, že sa musíme vziať.
So we said to the Swami, will you please marry us?
Takže povedali sa vám mu, oddáš nás?
He says, first we must get initiated.
A on povedal, najskôr musíte byť zasvetení.
I kind of knew inside it meant to surrender.
A nejak som vedel vnútri, že to znamená, že sa musím odovzdať.
I resisted, I didn't want to do it.
A ja som odolával, nechcel som to spraviť.
So I said to Prabhupada, when do you want us to get married?
Tak som povedal Prabhupadovi, kedy chceš, aby sme sa vzali?
He said, tomorrow.
On povedal, zajtra.
And he did this all the time, so my mind wouldn't get a chance to speculate too much.
A on toto robil vždy, aby moja myseľ nedostala ani šancu toľko špekulovať.
So now Janaki, because we're learning things, made ghee out of margarine.
Keďže my sme sa ešte len učili všetky tieto veci, tak Janavi pripravila z margarínu ghee.
And the wood was from a fruit crate, not real wood. Artificial wood.
A boli to tie drevené brikety, bolo to... Aha, boli to to drevo na tú jagiu bolo z ovocných bedničiek.
So the fire had trouble, but still Prabhupada was able to do it.
A bolo to umelé drevo a ten oheň mal s tým problém, ale Prabhupadovi sa to aj tak nejak podarilo.
And Shama Devi, Hare, wife, also was initiated with Jamuna and myself.
A Shyama Devi, Hayagrivová manželka, bola tiež so mňou a s Yamunou zasvetená.
A born-again Christian showed up the night before saying, this is bad, this is bad.
A deň predtým sa tam zjavili znovu zrodení kresťania a hovorili, toto je zlé, toto je zlé.
Don't get initiated.
Nenechajte sa zasvetiť.
But I thought, you know, you're so obnoxious that I don't want to go with you, I'd rather go with you.
Ale som si povedal, vy ste tak otravní, že ja nechcem ísť s vami a radšej pôjdem s nimi.
So then we get initiated and so we say to Swamiji, when do you want us to get married?
Tak keď už sme boli zasvetení, tak sme sa spýtali Swamijiho, kedy chceš, aby sme sa vzali?
Tomorrow.
Zajtra.
So again, Janaki made margarine and fruit boxwood.
Takže znova Janaki pripravila margarín a tieto ovocné bedničky.
And there was a woman with a baby that Prabhupada was also initiating the same day we were getting married.
A bola tam žena s babetkom, ktorú Prabhupada tiež zasvetil v ten deň, keď my sme sa vzali.
The only problem was that she wanted to marry Prabhupada.
Jediný problém bol, že ona sa chcela vydať za Prabhupada.
No, it was quite common. Women were falling in love and wanting Prabhupada to marry him, and he'd have to say, no, I'm the renounced warrior.
Bolo to dosť bežné, že ženy sa do Prabhupada zamilovali a chceli sa za neho vydať, a on musel povedať, nie, ja som v odriekanom stave.
We considered it because we were trying to get Prabhupada a permanent visa.
A my sme to zvažovali, pretože sme sa snažili pre Prabhupádu vybaviť víza, dlhodobé víza. Trvali to pohybu.
So the next plan was that Dayananda and Nandarani would adopt Prabhupada.
Ďalší nápad bol, že Dayananda a Nandarani by adoptovali Prabhupádu.
But Prabhupada said, they will say, what are you doing with such an old son?
Prabhupád na to povedal, ale oni vám povedia, že čo robíte s takým starým synom.
So we're getting married. There's only one dhoti in the movement, Hare, and I'm wearing it.
Takže my sme sa ženili a v celom hnutí vtedy bolo len jedno doty, Hayagrivové, a ja som ho mal na sebe.
So the woman not only wanted to marry Prabhupada, but she had a baby in her lap.
Takže tá žena nielen, že sa chcela za Prabhupádu vydať, ale bolo nemala dieťa.
And she was what we call a space cadet.
A ona bola niečo, čo sme nazývali ako vesmírna kadetka.
It was like so many people were zoned out on drugs that they were like, not quite real.
A bolo tam toľko ľudí, ktorí boli nadrogovaní, že oni tam ani neboli pomaly.
And while we're getting married, this baby's head is hitting the floor.
Keď sme mali tú svadbu, tak tá babetková hlava búchala o zem.
So they're like concerned. They're freaking out.
Všetci boli znepokojení, to rozčulovalo.
And myself and Jamuna are looking like...
A ja s Jamunou sme tiež ako pozerali.
But I'm telling you, if Prabhupada wants to be transcendental, I was trying to get him to see me for 3 days one time, and he just wouldn't talk or see me.
Ale ja vám hovorím, že Prabhupada, keď chcel byť transcendentálny ako jedného dňa, ja som ho chcel vidieť 3 dní a on proste so mňou nehovoril, alebo sa na mňa nepozeral.
He was making a point about personalism.
On hovoril ako o personalizmu, zdôrazňoval personalizmus.
Until I made the situation right, he wouldn't look at me.
A kým som tú situáciu skutočne ako nedostal do toho bodu, ako on chcel, tak sa na mňa ani nepozrel.
He was even walking down the hall in Sea Palace Hotel in Bombay.
Napríklad išiel dolu schodmi v Sea Palace hoteli v Bombaji.
And I went like this from the hall, so he'd see me.
Ja som takto prišiel z tej haly, aby ma zbadal.
And he still didn't, he was transcendental.
On sa na mňa nepozeral, bol transcendentálny.
But even the Swami couldn't be transcendental about this, because the baby's head was hitting the ground.
Ale dokonca ani s vami nemohol byť transcendentálny ohľadne tohoto, pretože hlavička toho bábetka sa buchala o zem.
So he told the girl, pick that baby up.
Tak povedal tej dievčine, nadvihni si to dieťa.
So she goes, So there were wonderful days in San Francisco. We were very happy.
V San Francisco to boli úžasné dni, všetci sme boli veľmi šťastní.
The Indian community started to come.
Začala prichádzať indická komunita.
So Govindadasi's parents are from Texas.
Takže rodičia Govindadasi sú z Texasu.
Yeah, in Texas everybody thinks they're better than everybody else because it's the largest state.
A v Texase si každý myslí, že sú najlepší zo všetkých, pretože je to ten najväčší štát.
You know, like Americans, Yahoo! Yahoo!
Američania, paf, paf, hurá.
You can't do it even if you try. I'm glad you can. So Govindadasi's, now Prabhupada's on the Vyasasana, he's not on the altar.
Takže teraz už bol Prabhupada na Vyasasane, už nesedel na oltári.
So Prabhupada's sitting on the altar.
Tak Prabhupada sedel
on the Vyasasana.
Na Vyasasane.
And Govindadasi's father comes up and says, why does my daughter have to have an Indian name?
Tak a pýta sa, prečo moja dcéra musí mať azijské meno?
So this whole clan from Gujarat, the Patels, come up to Prabhupada in the Vyasa Sangha because they want to hear the golden shlok or words that Prabhupada is going to say.
A celý klan z Gujaratu prichádza k Ako? Patelovia z Gujaratu prichádzajú k Prabhupada Vyasa Sanovi, pretože chcú počuť tie zlaté sloky, ktoré ako z neho vychádzajú. So
Govinda Dasi's father sees all these Patels.
A otec Govinda Dasi vidí všetkých týchto Patelov.
And you saw he was very uncomfortable.
A vidíte, že sa tam ako necítil veľmi príjemne.
He felt like General Custer surrounded by Indians.
Cítil sa ako generál Castro, ktorý bol obklopený Indiánmi.
So he's going like this.
A tak to pozerá.
Prabhupada sees this.
Prabhupada to vidí.
He says, you do not like Indians?
A hovorí, a vy nemáte radi Indov?
So he says, yeah, I like Indians, all right.
Ale áno, ja mám rád Indov.
So Prabhupada presses his advantage.
Takže Prabhupada, on z toho vyťaží nejakú ako výhodu.
And he says that if your daughter is happy with this name, then you should be happy, because you want your daughter to be happy.
Hovorí, ak sa vašej dcére páči toto meno, tak by ste jej vy mali byť šťastní, pretože chcete, aby bola šťastná.
So he was defeated, and Govinda Dasi's mother took him back.
Takže bol porazený a matka Govinda Dasi ho stiahla naspäť.
So we were so happy the Swami sitting amongst us.
A my sme boli takí šťastní, že medzi nami sedí s vami.
Teaching us everything.
Všetko nás učí.
Somebody one day decided, let's take Lord Jagannath for a walk in the park.
A dokonca jedného dňa sa niekto rozhodol, že vezmeme Jagannatha na prechádzku do parku.
It's a beautiful day, so let's take Lord Jagannath to the park.
Je krásny deň, tak vezmeme pána Jagannatha do parku.
So Prabhupada heard that and he runs. And I was with him, then he's running. We're running to the park.
A Prabhupada to počul a utekal do toho parku.
And he said, Lord Jagannath only comes out of the temple once a year, and we should not take him to the park.
A hovorí, pán Jagannath vychádza z chrámu iba raz za rok a my by sme ho nemali brať do parku.
But it wasn't, you can't do this, you're bad, blah, 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 the way some people do today. They take his instructive side, but not his compassionate side.
Ale on to nerobil tým spôsobom, že nesmiete toto robiť, nemôžete to robiť takto, ako to robia v dnešnej dobe niektorí ľudia, že berú si z neho tú stránku tých príkazov, ale nie tú súcitnú stránku.
Don't interact with karmis, don't do anything imaginative, don't attract anybody to Krishna, the material world is no good. That's all they say.
Všetko, čo vedia povedať, je, že nepritiahnete nikoho ku Krišnovi, nerobte toto a hmotný svet je vôbec nie je dobrý, nezdržujte sa s karmis.
It's fashionable to be strict because it's easier to administrate, but where's your Krishna consciousness?
Je to módne byť striktný, pretože takýmto spôsobom vy ľahšie môžete robiť tú administratívnu stránku, ale kde je vaše Krišna vedomie?
There's two stages, rules and regulations, and then the spontaneous love for Krishna. Sú dve úrovne, príkazy a usmernenia a spontánna láska ku Krišnovi.
One of these little dictators today, if they took Lord Jagannath to the park, would have said, "You're in Maya, and you're a bad devotee, and blah, 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 blah."
Keby niekto z týchto malých diktátorov videl, ako berú do parku pána Jagannatha, tak by povedali, nie, ty si zlý, si v máji, nemôžeš toto spraviť pánovi Jagannathovi.
Blah, 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 blah.
Blah, blah, blah.
Prabhupada said, "But as long as Lord Jagannath is here and we're here, let's sit down and chant Hare Krishna." And the picture's in my book.
Prabhupada povedal, ale keď už pán Jagannath tu je, tak si sadnime a spievajme Hare Krishna. A to môžete vidieť v mojej knihe, sú o tom obrázky.
So
if this was a law case, we can see the precedence in Prabhupada that this is how he acted, with compassion and sweetness and forgiveness.
A keď teda pozeráme, ako, keby toto mal byť príklad a pozeráme, ako Prabhupada jednal, tak vidíme, že on jednal so súcitom, s láskou a so sladkosťou. Sweetness.
The instruction came later as we were able to do it, but if he was so hard with us hippies, we wouldn't have come. We wouldn't have come.
Tie príkazy a inštrukcie prišli neskôr, keď už sme na to boli pripravení, pretože keby nám to povedal v tejto dobe, keď sme boli hippies, tak by sme vôbec neprišli.
I was such a rebel that I fought going into the army.
A ja som bol taký rebel, že som bojoval proti tomu, že nevstúpim do armády.
I won't go.
Nepôjdem
Arrest me.
Zatknite ma.
They thought I was crazy. They didn't want to give me a gun.
Oni si mysleli, že som šialený, tak nechceli ani vyťahnuť zbraň.
But Prabhupada
Nechceli mi dať zbraň.
tricked me into the Transcendental Army.
Ale Prabhupada, on ma trikom zaviedol do transcendentálnej armády.
It was free love, free sex, free drugs. Who wanted to give that pleasure up?
A vtedy bola móda, že voľná láska, voľný sex, voľné drogy, kto by si toho chcel vzdať?
But he tricked me with his sweetness.
Ale on ma dostal svojou sladkosťou.
And his compassion.
A s jeho súcitom.
And he also says that I have given them something tangible in their life.
A tiež hovoril, ja im dávam do ich života niečo hmatateľné.
So he gave this the whole Vedic culture.
A on nám dal celú vedskú kultúru.
Again, how to cook, how to everything.
Všetko, ako variť, úplne všetko.
One day, it's Lord Chaitanya's appearance day.
Jedného dňa bol deň zjavenia Pána Chaitanya.
So the Swami says, go in the temple all day, chant japa, chant out loud, and he gave us an unpublished manuscript of the Chaitanya Chaitamrita, and read this.
Takže jedného dňa bol deň zjavenia Pána Chaitanya, on nám hovoril, choďte na celý deň do chrámu a spievajte hlasno a dal nám taký veľký rukopis prekladu Chaitanya Charitamrity, ešte to nebolo vydané a my sme to mali čítať.
So about half the day had gone by.
A prešlo asi pol dňa.
And Jayananda and Jivananda looked at me.
A na mňa pozeral Jayananda a Jivananda.
And they both went.
A obaja takto hodili hlavou.
So we went outside the temple and chanted to where the Swami was living in an apartment that I used to live in and gave to the Swami.
Takže my sme išli von a spievali sme pred tým bytom, kde žil Swami a bol to byt, v ktorom som kedysi býval ja, dal som ho Swamimu.
He was on the second floor.
Bol na druhom poschodí.
And so we're chanting.
Spievame.
He comes to the window.
On príde k oknu.
And he goes.
A spraví toto.
We thought, oh no, the Swami told us to chant in the temple and we didn't, and now he's angry at us. And we never saw him angry, so we said, oh, and we went down the hill back to the temple.
A my sme si mysleli, my sme sem prišli, aby sme spievali a s vami sa nahneval, on nechcel, aby sme spievali to, chcel, on nám povedal, aby sme spievali v chráme, tak my sme ho nikdy nevideli, ako je nahnevaný, tak sme sa vrátili do chrámu.
We're very sad.
Boli sme veľmi smutní.
Upendra comes running out and says, the Swami wants to see you.
Upendra pribehol a kričí, s vami ťa chce vidieť.
But we said, the Swami told us to go away.
A my hovoríme, ale s vami nám povedal, že máme ísť preč.
So Upendra says, no, in India that means come here, come here.
Upendra hovorí, nie, v Indii to znamená, že poďte sem, poďte sem.
So we get before Prabhupada and he had a huge smile.
Takže sme prišli pred Prabhupádou, on mal na tvári veľký úsmev.
He said, Lord Chaitanya has given you intelligence from within.
A hovorí, pán Chaitanya vám dáva znútra inteligenciu.
This is called Chaitya Guru.
To sa nazýva Chaitya Guru.
And now I want you to take the chanting in the streets and outside the temple. And this is called Hare.
A ja teraz chcem, aby ste išli spievať do ulic mimo chrámu, toto sa nazýva Hare.
So that was the beginning of Hare with Vishnu Janan, Jamuna, etc.
A toto bol začiatok Hare s Vishnu Janom, Yamunou a tak ďalej.
No, Pendra was very shy.
Pendra bol veľmi hamblivý.
So one day Prabhupada said, study nature. It's the highest manifestation of Krishna and it'll teach you.
A jedného dňa povedal Prabhupada, študuj prírodu ako najvyšší prejav Krišnu a ono ťa to naučí.
So he stops underneath a tree.
Tak on sa zastavil pod stromom.
And there's some bird feces on the ground.
A na zemi boli výkaly vtákov.
So Prabhupada said, what's the meaning of that?
Prabhupada hovoril, čo toto znamená?
To a Pendra.
Hovorí to Upendrovi.
And the Pendra is very shy and he starts to become red.
A Upendra bol veľmi plachý a on sa začal červenať.
But then he says, okay, it's something to do with the positioning of the bird droppings like tea leaves in a cup.
A on hovorí, že musí to mať dočinenie niečo s tými výkalmi vtákov ako čajové listky.
Because it's the 60s, we were coming with all these crazy ideas.
Boli to 60. roky, my sme prichádzali so všetkými týmito šialenými nápadmi.
So Prabhupada says, no, what's the meaning of that?
Prabhupada hovoril, nie, čo to znamená?
So nobody knew.
A nikto nevedel.
So Prabhupada says, those birds, he called them bards, those bards live in the tree for 2 weeks. He counted the bird droppings, 14, okay.
A Prabhupada hovorí, to znamená, že 2 týždne v tomto strome bývali vtáci. A on spočítal tie výkaly, bolo ich 14.
So then we walk on.
To sme išli ďalej.
And he says, see, even birds are attached to their apartments.
A hovorí, vidíte, dokonca aj vtáci sú priputaní k ich bytom.
Another time on the morning walk, Prabhupada, it was in Kumbh Mela, Prabhupada says, how do you know Krishna is God?
Inokedy bolo to na Kumbh Mela, Prabhupada hovorí, ako vieš, že Krišna je Boh?
So I said, because you told us.
A ja hovorím, pretože vy ste nám to povedal.
And he said, no, they will just say I am an old man.
A nie, oni na to povedia, že som len starec.
Somebody said, because the Bhagavad Gita says.
A niekto hovorí, pretože to hovorí Bhagavad Gita.
They will just say it is a book. How do you know Krishna is God?
Oni povedia, že je to len kniha. Ako viete, že je Krišna Boh?
You know Krishna is God by the ecstasy you feel.
A viete, že Krišna je Boh vďaka tej extázy, ktorú pociťujete.
So the proof is this feeling that you get.
A dôkaz je tento pocit, ktorý pociťujete.
A year later we're walking in the morning in Philadelphia.
O rok neskôr sme išli na prechádzky po Filadelfii, bolo to ráno.
Prabhupada says, how do you know Krishna is God?
Prabhupada hovorí, ako vieš, že Krišna je Boh?
Oh, I know this.
A ja to viem.
Somebody says, you told us.
A niekto povedal, ty si nám to povedal.
He said, they will say I'm old man.
A on povedal, oni povedia, že som starec.
Nobody knew.
Nikto nevedel.
I said, you know Krishna is God because of the ecstasy you feel.
Ja som povedal, vieme, že Krišna je Boh vďaka tej extáze, ktorú pociťujeme.
He said, no, it's because the Bhagavad Gita says so.
A on hovorí, nie, to je preto, lebo to hovorí Bhagavad Gita.
So you see, in transcendental life, there's no contradiction. It's according to time and circumstance.
Takže vidíte, že v transcendentálnom živote tam nie sú žiadne rozpory, pretože je to podľa času, miesta a okolností.
So we were so happy with the Swami teaching us and chanting with us. No mridanga bongo drum, boom, boom, boom.
Takže My sme boli tak šťastní so svojím, ktorý nás učil a bol s nami, vtedy neboli žiadne bridangy, ale boli tam tie bongo bubny.
And then he had another stroke.
A potom mal ďalšiu srdcovú príhodu.
And became sick.
A ochorel.
And he moved to Stinson Beach nearby to recuperate.
A on sa presťahoval na Stinson pláž, aby sa zotavil.
We went in the temple and chanted so hard to make our spiritual master better.
A išli sme do chrámu a tak veľmi sme sa snažili spievať, aby sa náš duchovný učiteľ zotavil.
We had to do the next Rath Yatra. Without him, he was recuperating.
A ďalšiu Rath Yatru sme museli robiť bez neho, pretože on sa zotavoval.
He went back to India and got better.
Išiel naspäť do Indie a tam sa mu to zlepšilo.
He sent 6 of us to London because his spiritual master wanted something. 6 and a baby, 7. Saraswati. Yeah.
Takže 6 nás poslal do Londýna, v skutočnosti to bolo 6 plus babetko, takže bolo nás 7. Poslal nás do Londýna, pretože jeho duchovný učiteľ.
So, our only plan is we want to meet the Beatles.
Takže náš jediný plán bol, že sa chceme stretnúť s Beatles.
And by Krishna's grace and Prabhupada's guidance, we did meet the Beatles. It was very successful in London.
Krišnovou milosťou a Prabhupádovým požehnaním sme sa aj s Beatles stretli, bolo to v Londýne.
We made hit records.
A spravili sme nahrávky, ktoré vyleteli na top priečky.
We were embraced by the underground and the East Indian community.
Boli sme prijatí indickou komunitou aj podsvetím.
Our relationship with George and John was to give them things, not take anything.
A vzťah s Georgeom a Johnom bolo, že im máme dávať veci a nebrať od nich.
Give, be friends.
Dávaj, priateľ sa.
One day Prabhupada asked Samashinda to ask George to finance his new Krishna book.
A jedného dňa Prabhupada požiadal Shyama Sundara, aby poprosil Georgea, aby zafinancoval jeho novú Krišna knižku.
Samashinda said, we've just been giving things to George and I don't want to ask him for anything because so many people are asking and he might not like us.
A Shyama Sundara hovorí mi, Georgeovi len dávame veci a o ničo nežiadame, pretože toľko ľudí od neho žiada a jemu by sa to nemuselo páčiť.
Prabhupada said, Krishna will help you.
Prabhupada povedal, Krišna ti pomôže.
And I will take the blame.
A ja si za to vezmem tú vinu.
So Samashinda went to dinner at the best sculptor of all in England.
Takže Shyama Sundar išiel na večeru s
the one who made the queen's face on the coins.
S najlepším socharom v Anglicku, a to je ten, ktorý vytesal tvár kráľovny, ktorú majú na minciach.
So Samashinda found no opportunity to ask George.
A Shyama Sundar nenašiel žiadnu možnosť, aby sa to George spýtal.
After dinner, finally, he said, George, Prabhupada has a Krishna book and he wants you to finance it.
A po tej večeri hovorí, George Prabhupada má Krišna knižku a chce, aby si to zafinancoval.
It's 17,000 pounds.
Je to 17,000 libier.
George's face changed.
A Georgeova tvár sa zmenila.
He became angry.
Nahneval sa.
There was silence.
Bolo tam ticho.
It was a dark night.
Bola to tmavá noc.
Suddenly the lightning came and shook the house and the lights went out.
A zrazu prešiel blesk, zatriasol domov a vypadli všetky svetlá.
When the lights went back on,
Keď sa svetlá znova naskočili,
George was smiling
a George sa usmieval
and saying, Krishna, must you be so dramatic?
a hovorí, Krišna, musíš byť taký dramatický.
Another time in Mayapur, I used to chant outside of Prabhupada's room to even have more association with him.
A v inú dobu zase v Mayapure ja som čentovával pred jeho izbou, chcel som mať viacej spoločnosti.
2:30 in the morning.
2:30 v ráno.
So Prabhupada said, "What is that?"
A Prabhupada hovorí, čo to je?
So his assistant said, "It's Gurudas."
A jeho asistent hovorí, to je Gurudas.
So Prabhupada said, "Come on."
Prabhupada hovorí, poď.
And we talked. The next night I'm chanting.
A potom sme sa rozprávali, aj ďalšiu noc som tam tiež čentoval.
Prabhupada comes out.
Prabhupada vyjde von.
He goes to the balcony.
Vyjde na balkón.
There was only one building at that time in Mayapur.
V tej dobe v Mayapure bola iba jedna budova.
He said, the farmers, they're asking Krishna, give me water.
A on hovorí, poľnohospodári, oni žiadajú Krišnu, daj mi vodu.
And Prabhupada goes like this. Krishna says, okay, take it.
A Prabhupada ukazuje a Krišna hovorí, OK, vezmi si to.
And when he went like that, the water came down and lightning. And
keď toto spravil, tak sa začala liať voda a bol tam aj blesk.
It was a miracle. All right, take it.
Bol to zázrak.
Then he just walked into his room like nothing happened.
A potom len kráčal do svojej izby, ako keby sa nič nestalo.
One time a butterfly went on his finger, and the same thing. He didn't make any great thing of it.
A jedného dňa mu na prste pristál motýl a on žiadnu veľkú vec z toho nerobil.
So there's so many stories, and I just want to bring you Prabhupada so you can see why we became devotees. Not because only we were unhappy with the material world, but because he has given us a viable alternative.
Takže ja rozprávam všetky tieto príbehy za tým účelom, aby som vám ukázal, že sme sa nestali oddanými len preto, že sme boli nešťastní v hmotnom svete, ale preto, že nám dal príklad, dal nám príležitosti.
He wants us to be imaginative, he wants us to be bold, he wants us to be happy for Krishna.
On chcel, aby sme boli kreatívni, smelí, aby sme boli šťastní pre Krišnu.
Your family is like our family in San Francisco, starting out. You can do it the same way we did.
A vaša rodina je taká istá, ako my sme boli rodina v San Francisku, môžete to spraviť rovnako tak, ako sme to spravili my.
And I'll tell one more story to show you how Prabhupada thinks Krishna is everything, how he puts his faith in Krishna.
A poviem vám ešte jeden príbeh, aby som ukázal, ako Prabhupada dáva svoju vieru v Krišnovi, ako je tam vidieť, že pre ňo Krišna je všetko.
It was during the Pakistan-Indian War.
Bolo to cez pakistánsko-indickú vojnu.
They wanted us to black the windows out so at night the bombers couldn't bomb from the light.
Oni chceli, aby sme si zatemnili okná, aby proste v noci nemohli tí bombardéri podľa svetiel identifikovať, že kde je mesto, kde majú bombardovať.
Some men came and said, Swamiji, why don't you black the windows out?
Prišiel nejaký chlap a hovorí s vami, že prečo ste si nezatemnili okna.
He didn't say anything.
On nič nepovedal.
They said, Swamiji, what if the bomb should come?
A hovorí, Swamiji, čo keď na vás padne bomba? Čo keď bude padať bomba?
Prabhupada said, you cannot control your stomach ache, your toothache. You're not the controller.
Nemôžete ovládať svoju bolesť zubov alebo bolesť brucha, vy nie ste kontrolór, nie ste ovládateľ.
They said, Swamiji, what if the bomb should come?
Oni hovoria, Swamiji, a čo keď príde bomba?
I was standing up to help serve prasadam and things.
Ja som tam stál, aby som pomohol slúžiť prasadam.
Swamiji, what if the bomb should come?
Swamiji, čo ak príde bomba?
I saw Prabhupada look up.
Ja som videl, ako Prabhupada pozrel hore.
He said, then I will see the bomb as Krishna.
Hovorí, potom tú bombu budem vidieť ako Krišnu.
So we're a family, we're starting out Slovenia, we can do it just like San Francisco.
Takže sme rodina, začíname na Slovensku a môžeme to spraviť tak, ako sme to spravili v San Francisku.
Prabhupada gave us this concept, das ano das, which means we serve each other.
A Prabhupada nám dal toto poňatie dasa ano dasa, čo znamená, že si navzájom slúžime.
And like honeybees, we're happy to see the advancement of our God brothers and God sisters.
A ako čmeliaci tešíme sa, keď vidíme, že naši duchovní bratia a sestry robia pokrok.
So, just like we did in San Francisco and we're still doing 40 years later,
Presne tak, ako sme to robili v San Francisku a robíme to ešte aj o 40 rokov neskôr.
as a family,
Ako rodina
let's go back to Godhead together.
sa vrátime naspäť k Bohu spolu.
Thank you very much.
Ďakujem veľmi pekne.
If there's questions, we can.
Ak
Yes,
máte
please.
nejaké otázky?
A few days ago, I heard for the first time that Prabhupada, to attract hippies, he used to cook also meat preparations for the first hippies, and I was quite surprised, and I would like to ask you if it's true.
No. Absolutely not.
Preklad, translation.
Čiže pred pár dňami som počul tak sa mi dostala do uši taká informácia, že prvýkrát, že Prabhupada na dvor priťahol hippies, tak im varil aj jedla s mesom, že či je to pravda, že absolútne nie.
Že nie, že...
No. When I went to Russia years ago and there wasn't very much food, we reported.
Keď som išiel pred rokmi do Ruska a nebolo tam veľa jedla, tak dávali sme o tom report.
All the stores had the same things.
Všetky veci mali úplne rovnaké, všetci obchody mali rovnaké veci.
There wasn't very much to eat. So Prabhupada said, if you have to for preaching, eat meat.
No a vlastne tam nebolo vtedy veľa jedla a Prabhupada nám povedal, ak musíte kvôli kázaniu, tak môžete jesť meso.
We didn't have to. But for preaching, sometimes you can make an exception, like sometimes you may not be able to finish your rounds, but because the preaching is so important.
Kvôli kázaniu sa môžu robiť výnimky, ako niekedy možno nie si kvôli kázaniu schopný dokončiť svojich 16 kôl, tak ak je to prekázanie, tak to môžeš ako...
Yeah, and Prabhupada knew that this was happening with me, and some of the devotees were serving very hard, almost doing impossible things.
Prabhupada vedel, že to sa deje mne aj ďalším oddaným, že sme tak tvrdo slúžili, že sme robili takmer nemožné veci.
So this is preaching, not like, oh, Prabhus, you shouldn't interact with the public, and you should just, they're all karmis, and it's all Maya. I hear some people saying this, but what about Bhaktisiddhanta and Prabhupada's idea of bringing this to every town and village?
Takže ja som počula, ako ľudia hovorili, že nemali by ste interaktovať s kármi, že toto všetko je mája a že hovoria, že a čo Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj? No, tak povedz.
Že slyšel nějaký oddaný rozpad, neměli byste radši ani chodit ven, nebo nějak mezi ty lidi, je to karmí a pozor na máju, ale že říkal, proč si neberte příklad z Bhaktisiddhanty aspoň.
If you're so selfish for only your self-realization without wanting to give Krishna to others, then it'll end up with dead ashrams, just going along like the Gadyamoth, just doing what you have to, but no life.
Takže ak robíte duchovný život s týmito ako egoistickými pohnutkami, že iba pre seba nechcete Krišnu dať druhým, tak skončíte ako mŕtvy popol.
So we have to be careful with, oh, Prabhupada said that it's all right to eat meat.
musíme dávať na to pozor, že keď sa takéto veci hovoria, Prabhupada povedal, že v poriadku je meso.
In India, there is a custom that when people went to bathe and do their Gayatri mantra,
takže v Indii je taký zvyk, že ľudia, keď sa idú okúpať a odspievať Gayatri mantru,
they had two little brass cups where they pour water into one and while they did the mantra.
Takže oni majú dva také medené poháriky, z ktorých majú vodu a oni to prelievajú, keď zatiaľ, čo recitujú Gayatri mantru.
So then after doing that, you take the cups and you put them on the shore.
No a potom, keď to spravíte, vezmete tie poháriky a dáte ich naspäť na breh.
And so then you go to bathe.
Potom sa idete kúpať.
And then you come back and everybody else put their two cups on the shore too, so you can't see where your cups are.
No keď sa vrátite, tak keďže všetci ostatní si svoje dva poháriky tiež tam položili, tak neviete, ktoré sú vaše.
Two cups, two cups, two cups.
Dva poháriky, dva poháriky, dva poháriky.
Oh, by the way, in India, if you have shoes, put one shoe on one end of the temple and one shoe on the other.
A v Indii, ak máte topánky, tak si radšej jednu topánku dajte na jednu stranu chrámu a druhú na druhú.
Because people or monkeys won't steal one shoe.
Pretože ľudia alebo opice neukradnú len jednu topánku.
It's true.
Je to pravda.
So the man next day he does his ablutions.
Človek teda na druhý deň robí toto umývanie, túto obeť, ponúkanie.
He pours it. So he decides, in order to find my cups, I'll put two little pebbles, one and one, in my cups, so I'll know where my cups are.
Takže hovorí si, aby som si rozpoznal svoje poháriky, tak dám do nich také malé kamienky, do každého jeden.
So he comes back from bathing,
vráti sa z toho kúpania,
and everybody's cups had little pebbles in them.
a všetky poháriky majú v sebe malé kamienky.
They thought this was the new religion, with the pebbles.
Oni si myslí, že to je nejaké nové náboženstvo, dať do toho kamienky.
So be careful of Prabhupada said.
Takže dávaj pozor na toto, keď počuješ Prabhupada povedal.
Sometimes you have to take your own counsel and follow your heart, and if it doesn't feel right, don't do it.
Niekedy musíš byť sám sebe radcom, proste keď sa ti to nezdá, tak to radšej ako nenasleduj.
As I said last time I was here, that recently you got out of a oppressive regime.
Takže naposledy, keď som tu bol v Prahe, tak som hovoril, že nedávno ste sa dostali z režimu, ktorý vás utlačal.
So don't accept another oppressive regime in your Krishna consciousness.
Tak nepríjmajte ďalší utlačateľský režim vo vašom Krišna vedomí.
I'll show you what I mean.
A ja vám ukážem, čo tým myslím.
One day I'm chanting in the temple in Visakhapatnam.
Jedného dňa spievam v chráme vo Visakhapatnam.
Prabhupada comes walking by to the beach.
A Prabhupada ide okolo, ide na pláž.
I run after him without any shoes.
A ja za ním utekám bez topánov.
There's sharp rocks and shells on the beach.
Na tej pláži sú ostré kamene a mušle.
So I'm walking like this.
Takto chodím.
Prabhupada sees this, he says, "Where are your shoes?"
Prabhupada to vidí a pýta sa, kde máš topánky?
I said, "When I'm with you, Prabhupada, I don't feel any pain."
Hovorím, Prabhupada, keď som s tebou, necítim žiadnu bolesť.
He looks at me like, what a fool, number one, you know.
Pozerá na mňa ako aký prvotriedny hlupák.
He says there's enough tapasya, austerity in the world. Don't give yourself any more.
Hovorí, vo svete je dosť tapasie, dosť odriekania, ako ďalšiu si nevytváraj.
So Krishna consciousness is really happy and imaginative and actually free.
Krišna vedomie je šťastné, kreatívne a slobodné.
So please embrace the spontaneous aspect of love of Krishna.
Prosím, a príjmite spontánny aspekt lásky ku Krišnovi.
If you're so much in love with Krishna
Keď Krišnu toľko milujete,
and Radharani
a Radharani,
and Gaurnitai,
a Gaurnitai,
there's no time for arguing with anybody.
tak nemáte vôbec čas, aby ste sa s niekým hádali.
No time for your depressions.
Nemáte žiadny čas na vlastné depresie.
Because you'll be so happily engaged in Krishna's service and His holy names that you'll understand the bliss and ecstasy that Prabhupada is giving us.
Pretože budete tak šťastní v extáze Krišna vedomia a budete ako zacťovať tú bláženosť, ktorú nám Prabhupada tak slobodne dáva.
Any other questions?
Nejaké ďalšie otázky?
I was wondering, you know Prabhupada and you know how he was creating his society. So do you think that if he saw ISKCON now that probably he would be happy he wanted it like that, or what's your idea?
No, he wouldn't be happy.
Takže moja otázka bola, že poznáte Šilu Prabhupádu a viete, ako začínal so svojou spoločnosťou, že keby videl ISKCON ako v dnešnej dobe, že či by to bolo vlastne to, ako to on chcel, že by bol šťastný. Ja hovorím, že teda on hovorí, že nebol by šťastný.
The essence is the same. Prasadam and chanting and trying together as a family to try and build something.
A tá podstata je rovnaká, je tam prasadám, spievanie, snaha vybudovať niečo spoločne.
But some people, they have parts like Prabhupada, but not all the qualities.
Ale niektorí ľudia majú určité časti ako Prabhupada, ale nemajú všetky jeho vlastnosti.
So somebody's a good organizer.
Niekto je napríklad dobrý manažer.
Somebody's a good scholar.
Niekto je dobrý učenec.
But very few embrace the compassionate aspect of Prabhupada.
Ale málo kto prijíma ten aspekt súcitu, ktorý mal Prabhupada.
And because of it, some leaders have misused their power.
A kvôli tomuto niektorí lídri zneužili svoju moc.
And this is what Prabhupada was trying to avoid.
A tomuto sa Prabhupada snažil vyhnúť.
However, in the Parampara system, it's important to have a personal guru that you can talk to and ask questions to today.
Avšak v systéme Parampara je môžete spýtať dnes vaše otázky.
And I respect and love my God brothers who are carrying on Prabhupada's movement.
A ja rešpektujem tú lásku, ktorú majú, rešpektujem a milujem to, ako sa moji duchovní bratia snažia niesť ďalej toto hnutie.
But the people who misuse their power and are very angry at others and miss the whole picture of Krishna consciousness, this is very counterproductive.
Ale ľudia, ktorí zneužívajú svoju moc a hnevajú sa na iných, a čo ešte to bolo? Misuse the power, angry at others and?
It's counterproductive. It's destructive.
Tak sú kontraproduktívni, sú deštruktívni.
Yet, look at here. In this country, you're here. Will make Prabhupada very happy.
Ako pozrite sa tu v tejto krajine, ste tu a toto Prabhupada veľmi poteší.
So in general, new people are coming. We're carrying on Krishna consciousness. I'm very happy with how ISKCON has progressed, but these defects would not make Prabhupada happy. Mistreatment of each other, insensitivity.
Takže ja som šťastný, keď vidím, ako prichádzajú noví ľudia a nesú toto hnutie, a to by aj Prabhupáda spravilo šťastným, ale tá necitlivosť alebo nesprávne zaobchádzanie s inými, to by Prabhupádu netešilo.